We also had, this was another big story today, Judge Travis Laster, who will be the judge presiding over the still scheduled WWE shareholder lawsuit, which is set to begin on June the 8th. And as we are getting closer, we will see. There's always the potential of a settlement. But today, Judge Laster released a 41-page opinion, and we'll go through like the important notes here. A beautiful graphic designed by Brandon Thurston and an accompanying story as well. Langus has officially taken over the wrestling vocabulary.
It certainly has. If we did have a merchandise store, I did encourage Brandon to print those Langus shirts, but maybe someday.
Yes. Yeah, it is funny that there are people that are discovering this Langus story for the first time today, and
it's like the third time it's been published. Or it's been,
but for some reason today was like, oh, now we get this, and we're seeing like the depositions of Nick Khan and Vince McMahon that were available, but it seems like more eyes were on it today. Mm-hmm. So the judge determined that there was spoliation, and what is spoliation? It is the deletion of what can be considered key evidence. And there are multiple defendants in this case that the shareholders have filed suit against. Vince McMahon, Nick Khan are among them, but also is Brad Blum, Paul Levesque, as well George Barrios, Michelle Wilson. They are all defendants in this case. The sanctions that the judge is imposing are only on Vince McMahon and Nick Khan because he believes that these two acted recklessly. And as a result, the court is now going to elevate the standard of proof that is going to be needed by the defendants. Typically, it's based on a preponderance of evidence. And because of this evidence that it's gone, they cannot obviously use that evidence. And now it's a higher threshold that the defendants are going to have to make in terms of their case for the judge to rule in their favor. They're going to go with 5 key facts that they are going to presume are true as a result of this because of this evidence that has been deleted. All this goes back to in the Vince McMahon, the first set of stories about Vince McMahon and the sexual misconduct allegations in 2022. That very week, WWE's assistant general counsel, they sent out a legal hold notice to all of the key people, including Vince McMahon, Brad Blum, Nick Khan, Levesque, Stephanie, and stated, you are to preserve and retain all documents, electronically stored information, and to take all reasonable steps necessary to prevent the destruction of any of these documents or information. And like it was as clear as possible. And even stating that if your settings for emails or text messages have automatic deletion protocols, it's your responsibility to ensure that relevant documents are preserved and that like the onus is on you. If you are someone that downloads Signal, the default is that nothing will be deleted. You have to manually change that setting. And they were able to determine how often Nick Khan and Vince McMahon specifically, and others as well, but mainly we'll focus on Vince and Nick Khan, were switching their settings and being like they would delete within, like for some within an hour. For one instance, when the DOJ when they sent WWE a request for information regarding Vince McMahon's alleged conduct, that same day, Nick Khan changed the auto delete setting on his Signal chat with Vince McMahon to delete messages after 1 hour. And when you are looking at this, like they pretty much here were like just dead to rights here of like this goes so counter to what they were literally instructed to by their own legal counsel, and we're not preserving a lot of this. They also, the shareholders, their main focus of this is that this was not a fair process, that Endeavor, through Ari Emanuel, they were able to jumpstart the process before any other bidders were brought into the process, and that this was a foregone conclusion that Endeavor was going to end up in this company. Why? Because they have Ari Emanuel, both in communication with Vince McMahon through messages, but also there's a voicemail, and he's basically indicating that Vince McMahon, he's going to be able to take care of Vince McMahon, have a spot for him in this new company, and that he will be able to, that everybody at the DOJ are former Latham lawyers. So on that side, it will be very helpful, indicating that these are lawyers that are going to be helpful to us as well. So you have this picture that is being illustrated of Vince McMahon having this landing spot to come back to the company in early 2023, orchestrate this sale with Endeavor. And when Liberty Media and KKR and Base 10, which is Tony Khan's company, when they were making their proposals, none of them had shown any indication of wanting to retain Vince McMahon. And the shareholders believe that, this could have driven up the price, and that the shareholders could have made a lot more, because this, with all of these bidders, you could have really had a competition for this company. And their belief is that, well, this was fixed from before the process began. This was a guarantee that Endeavor was going to get this, and they may have underpaid for this company. So it's not so much looking at what is the company worth today. It's been a super successful merger to create TKO, but what was the price, or what was the stock sale in 2023 that was agreed upon, and how high could they have gone after the fact? So they have made these points clear, that going into this trial, these are the points that they are going to consider as factual, that Ari Emanuel made a promise to provide Vince with a continued role at this new company, and after a transaction had influenced Vince's decision-making with respect to the merger. Number two is that Emanuel offered to indemnify and offer legal support for any federal investigation of Vince's alleged misconduct allegations. That Vince decided to pursue a transaction with Endeavor in 2022, before the company had formally started a sale process or a merger process. Number four is that Nick Khan communicated with Ari Emanuel between August and December of 2022 to facilitate a transaction between the two companies. And number five, that Vince McMahon and Nick Khan worked with the Rain company, which was like a investment banking firm, to steer the process towards a deal with Endeavor away from other bidders. So they have stated that the presumed facts relate to the conduct of Vince McMahon and Nick Khan. The court is not presuming that the other defendants knew about their actions or were involved. So again, it does not include like your other defendants here, like Levesque and Brad Blum and George Barrios and Michelle Wilson. So like this is a big blow to the plaintiff side, in particular Vince McMahon and Nick Khan. Could this expedite their need to try and settle? It's possible. But as of now, this trial is supposed to start in Delaware on June 8th. It will run for 4 days that week. And at the end of the trial date, there's not going to be a decision after the last day. The judge will then go away. He will deliberate. It might be months. And then he will make a ruling on this. And what could this mean? Like if this goes to trial and the shareholders win, it could mean like hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. Like there is that potential. And there is a question of how covered Vince McMahon is regarding insurance, and if he would be covered by TKO's indemnification, if he would be personally liable. Like that's a question we don't know the answer to, at least not clearly. So this is a very big story, and outlines sort of the a lot of these, their belief is that TKO's argument is that, listen, we've sent tens of thousands of documents and information. This is only a fraction of what's missing. But their argument is, because this was deleted, we're going to believe that means these were very important, and not all documents carry equal weight. And the fact that these ones were deleted and not submitted, well, we're going to put the onus on, like, these were probably really important, and they might be more important than all these other documents you have provided for us. So they really painted themselves in a corner, and were told on two separate occasions by their legal team of preserving and making it so clear, like there was no wiggle room in this.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see it play out, and it's also fascinating to consider well, what exactly is the end result in all of this as it relates to, I guess, the common fan? And I think the answer to that is really not much. I mean, these billionaires are going to lose money, but the status quo will largely stay the same. Now, what sort of fallout will there be in terms of maybe further cutbacks or and decreases in higher ticket prices or something? I don't know. I wonder, but I just simply await any semblance of a decision, which I think will take some time.
Do you think this is going to trial?
My feeling is no.
You think they will reach a settlement beforehand?
Yeah, but if you're the shareholders, like what damages are you looking towards when you feel like you might have a very winnable case here?
But you also might lose, and you might get offered something that, hey, we might not get anything, and like, listen, a lot of these cases, like you are incentivized to settle and not reach this end stage. Like there have been, the Delaware court, it is designed to get these done very quickly. A lot of these major corporations, when they have conflict, they have also released like the witness list, and like this is the all-star game of witness lists. Vince McMahon is set to take the stand for both the plaintiffs and the defendants. The plaintiffs will also call to the stand Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, Andrew Schleimer. They may call Stephanie McMahon. She's a maybe. The defendants, they have the whole list here. They're going to call as witnesses George Barrios, Brad Blum, Ari, Nick Khan, Steve Koonin, who was a TKO board member and previously a WWE board member, Paul Levesque, Vince McMahon, Frank Riddick, Mark Shapiro, Michelle Wilson. This is everybody you would imagine hearing, and like Vince McMahon just taking the stand alone is it's pretty noteworthy. Like I was talking with Brandon, like I cannot recall Vince McMahon taking the stand. Like he's been deposed in his history, but actually taking the stand, like this might be a first. And we will have if this goes to trial, we will have Brandon Thurston right there in the courthouse.
Amazing. His WrestleMania.
This is really? We'll start with Doug Perlman and just move our way up here.
Yeah, incredibly fascinating. Now, like outside of this particular story, do we expect further information about not just the makeup of TKO, but just WWE as an operation? Do we expect anything like that to come out if this does to go to trial? I
mean, already like there's going to be a lot that come out. Like the depositions are really eye-opening. If this reaches like just these people on the stand for an hour or so, like you're going to learn a lot about this company that's informed by those depositions, but are going to be probably a lot more. The questions are going to be much more narrow in scope and trying to derive as much specific information as possible. And listen, quite frankly, if you are the legal team of Vince McMahon and Vince is going on the stand, I'd be super nervous. I'd be super nervous of Vince going on the stand and what this guy is going to say, what his recall is. And a lot of these people are very polished, but I think Vince McMahon is a total wild card on the stand for both the plaintiffs and the defendants in terms of what you'll get out of him. I mean, it's I mean, it'll be fascinating, and it'll be really interesting to see I think there's going to be a lot of entertainment reporters covering this. I think that you will probably get some sports media coverage of this. But when an Ari Emanuel is here, and to a degree Nick Khan, but a Vince McMahon as well, like that is going to garner like national media being focused on this story. I feel as we get closer to June 8th.
So June 8th is the key date. We are awaiting to see if a settlement.
There have been cases like this where like they have settled the night before. There was like the Facebook case where they literally went their first day in court and they settled that night after everyone had gotten there. After one day in court, they settled. So like that's always on the table for these. And like that's the multi-million-dollar question is if you are the team that is representing Nick Khan and TKO's side are like, man, we are like, we're going into this already with these strikes against us after today's opinion, and does that intensify their need to settle because they do not want to have a spotlight on the inner workings of their company on this national scale? Like, it's one thing, like these depositions, it's your Bloomberg readers that are maybe following this like very closely, the Brandon Thurstons, but this going to trial, like everyone is going to see like an autopsy on this company and its business practices. If the Post Wrestling Cafe were to undergo a drug test in the month of May, we would be testing positive because we are overloaded with content. We are going to be reviewing Hulk Hogan, Real American, all 4 episodes this month. Plus, we will go inside the Manosphere with a review of the latest Louis Theroux documentary. We will also have coverage of the Ronda Rousey-Gina Carano fight, also taking place on Netflix. Rewind Away tackles WCW Super Brawl 2, and we cover NXT TakeOver Brooklyn from 2015. All that, plus all of the XL editions on a weekly basis, Collision Course, Daredevil Born Again, and so much more. It can all be yours at postwrestlingcafe.com. $8 gets you in the door.